Chapter 1. Arrival. The crisp morning air at the International Spaceport was alive with anticipation as the shuttle from Zeltrak's academy touched down gently. Michael stood among the welcoming committee, clipboard in hand, scanning the crowd for the group of alien students he was assigned to guide. His role as a xenobiology grad student and part-time liaison for the academy provided him unique opportunities like this one, and he was eager to make a good first impression. As the shuttle's doors hissed open, a diverse group of alien students stepped out, their eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Michael stepped forward, offering a warm, reassuring smile. "Welcome to Earth, everyone. I'm Michael, your guide for this semester. We're thrilled to have you here and can't wait to show you why our planet is famously known as a Deathworld in the Galactic Academy circuits." A tall, slender student with shimmering blue skin and large, curious eyes approached him. "I am Lyra, from Cygnus. We've learned about Earth's ecosystems in our preparatory modules, but experiencing them firsthand is truly exciting." Beside her, a robust figure with a rocky exterior grunted in agreement. "I'm Tarn from Vulca. We're used to harsh climates, but Earth's variety sounds challenging." Michael chuckled. "You'll find Earth full of surprises. Let's get you all to the university first. You can settle in, and later today, we'll start with a brief tour around the campus." The group followed Michael to a waiting transport, their chatter filling the air with a dozen different accents and tones. As they traveled, Michael introduced the city's landmarks, weaving in tidbits of Earth's history and culture. "So, what brings each of you to study Earth?" Michael asked, keen to spark conversation. Lyra leaned forward, her voice animated. "For me, it's the biodiversity. Cygnus is biologically homogeneous, so Earth's varied life forms fascinate me." Tarn rumbled. "Vulca's interest is more practical. Learning about your disaster management could really help us back home." A smaller, agile student with reflective skin that flickered with light interjected. "I'm Plix from Nocturne. We're nocturnal. I am here to study your planetary rotation and its effects on diurnal and nocturnal species." Michael nodded, impressed by their reasons. "You've come to the right place. Earth has lessons for all of you, and hopefully, you'll also have some fun along the way." As they arrived at the university, a sprawling campus greeted them, bustling with students from various disciplines. Michael led them through the main academic buildings, pointing out the library, the Xenobiology Research Center, and the Student Recreation Hall. "Tonight, there's a welcome mixer at the Rec Hall. It's a great chance to meet other students, both human and alien. Earth's social rituals can be as complex as its ecosystems." Lyra smiled, her eyes sparkling with interest. "That sounds wonderful. It's the informal interactions that often teach the most." Michael grinned. "Exactly. And if any of you have questions or need anything, don't hesitate to ask. I'm here to help make your transition to Earth as smooth as possible." As the tour concluded, the group dispersed to their assigned living quarters, their minds abuzz with all they had seen and the adventures yet to come. Michael watched them go, feeling a surge of pride in his role. This semester was going to be interesting, and he was ready for it. Chapter 2. First Lessons. The morning after the mixer found the alien students gathered at the edge of the sprawling Amazon rainforest, with Michael leading the way. Each student carried a high-tech survival kit, courtesy of the university's xenobiology department, and a palpable excitement hung in the air. "As you know, the Amazon is one of Earth's most complex ecosystems," Michael began, adjusting his wide-brimmed hat against the sun. "Today we'll explore a small section, observe some native species, and discuss the ecological dynamics at play. Keep your scanners handy and stay close." Lyra, notebook in hand, was quick to flank Michael's side. "What should we be most cautious about?" she asked, scanning the dense foliage that seemed alive with hidden life. Predators, poisonous plants, and insects carrying diseases. Our scanners will alert us to any dangerous wildlife, but always stay alert, Michael advised as he led the group along a narrow, winding path. Tarn, carrying his heavy gear with ease, looked intrigued. On Vulca, we face the lava beasts, but poison is rare. How do humans cope with such variety in threats? We learn and adapt, Michael responded, and we respect the environment by understanding it rather than fearing it. Plix, whose sensitive skin flickered faster in the dappled sunlight, pointed to a tree where a colorful bird had just landed. "Is that creature dangerous?" he inquired, tilting his head. "That's a macaw, completely harmless," Michael explained, watching as the students recorded the bird. "It's vital for seed dispersion here." As they ventured deeper, the sounds of the jungle grew louder, a symphony of life that both fascinated and intimidated the students. Suddenly, the scanner on Lyra's belt beeped loudly, and she froze. Michael was at her side in an instant, checking the readings. "It's a warning about a nearby snake, likely a boa constrictor. Not venomous, but let's give it some space," he directed calmly, guiding the group around a thick bush where the large snake lay coiled, seemingly indifferent to the humanoids observing it. "Amazing," Lyra murmured, her eyes wide. "It's so different seeing these creatures in their natural habitat rather than in simulations." As they continued, Michael initiated discussions about the symbiotic relationships in the ecosystem, pointing out plants that thrived only in this environment and explaining their medicinal uses to humans. The group was especially intrigued by his description of the indigenous people's ways of using the forest's resources sustainably. The afternoon brought a slight rain shower, common in the rainforest, which brought out even more life, especially insects. Plix was particularly taken with the bioluminescent fungi that began to glow as the light dimmed. "Earth is full of natural wonders," Michael said, watching their reactions. "Every part of this planet, even the dangers, plays a role in sustaining the life you see." As the day ended and they made their way back to the transport, Tarn spoke up, his voice thoughtful. "Today was more educational than I expected. Earth's Deathworld status is well earned, but there's a strange beauty to it." "Exactly," Michael agreed. "It's all about balance. And tomorrow, we'll visit the coral reefs, where you'll see a different but equally challenging and beautiful ecosystem." The students chatted excitedly among themselves about the day's observations and the lessons learned, their initial fears of Earth's dangers slowly transforming into a deep respect and curiosity. Michael smiled to himself, pleased with their progress. Teaching these students about Earth was not just an assignment, it was a privilege. Chapter 3: Unseen Beauty. Early the next morning, Michael and the students boarded a small research vessel at the edge of the Great Barrier Reef. The sun cast a golden glow over the water, promising a day ripe with new discoveries. "As we explore the reef, you'll see why it's not only a natural wonder of Earth, but also a critical ecosystem," Michael explained, handing out underwater gear. "The reef supports a vast array of marine life, and its health is a direct indicator of the environmental state of our planet." Lyra adjusted her snorkel, her eyes reflecting the shimmering sea. "I read that the reefs are sensitive to changes in temperature and pollution. It must be a continuous challenge to maintain its balance." "It is," Michael agreed as they slipped into the water. "Climate change, pollution, and overfishing pose constant threats. That's why observation and conservation efforts are crucial." The water enveloped them in its cool embrace, and the vibrant life of the reef came alive beneath the waves. Schools of colorful fish darted between the corals, and a gentle current guided them along. "This is incredible," murmured Tarn, his earlier stoicism replaced by wonder as a sea turtle glided past him. Plix, moving adeptly in the water, pointed towards a patch of bleached coral. "Is this what happens when the reef gets sick?" he asked, his tone laced with concern. "Yes, that's coral bleaching. It happens when the water is too warm for too long, causing the coral to expel the algae that feed and color them," Michael explained, leading the group to healthier sections. As they swam, Michael pointed out various species and their roles within the reef ecosystem. He showed them anemones, clownfish, and even a small reef shark that kept its distance. The interplay of life here was a delicate dance, and as the alien students observed, they began to understand the complexity and fragility of this underwater world. After several hours, they returned to the boat for lunch, the salt air mixing with their excited conversations. "Earth's oceans are much more vibrant than I expected," Lyra said, flipping through her digital notes filled with photos and recordings. "Back home, our waters are more monotonous. This diversity is overwhelming, but in a good way." Michael smiled, handing out fresh water and snacks. "Every ecosystem on Earth, whether on land or underwater, is unique. We have areas of incredible biodiversity, but also areas where life struggles to survive. Understanding both is key to our studies." Tarn, looking thoughtful, added, "This makes me think about how we manage our own natural resources. There's much to learn from how Earth handles its environmental challenges, and much to share about what works and what doesn't," Michael replied. "Conservation is a global effort. No planet is an island, so to speak." The afternoon brought them to a secluded part of the reef where they could dive deeper. Equipped with advanced gear, they descended into the quieter world of deep-water corals and sponges, their lights illuminating the mysterious depths. "Each layer of the reef lives and functions differently," Michael noted, guiding them through the dimly lit waters. "Much like societies, each layer supports the others in various ways." As the day wound down and they made their way back to shore, the sun setting over the ocean painted everything in hues of orange and pink. The beauty of Earth had once again touched their hearts, leaving them with more questions and a deeper respect for the planet's complex ecosystems. Back on the boat, heading towards the mainland, the group was quiet, each lost in thought about the day's lessons. Michael watched them, knowing that these experiences were changing their perceptions of Earth, showing them its beauty and its challenges. "Tomorrow we'll discuss what you've all learned so far, and prepare for our next adventure into the desert," Michael announced as the coastline came into view, signaling the end of another extraordinary day on Earth. Chapter 4. Bonds of Trust. The next morning, Michael gathered the group in a conference room at the university to discuss their observations and prepare for the upcoming excursion to the Sonoran Desert. The room buzzed with energy as the students exchanged notes and experiences from their explorations. "Let's start with your thoughts on the Great Barrier Reef. What did you find most surprising?" Michael began, seating himself at the head of the table. Lyra, ever eager, was the first to respond. "The complexity of interactions within the reef was beyond what I expected. It's not just about the big species. Even the smallest organisms play critical roles." Tarn nodded in agreement. "Yes, and seeing the effects of environmental stress on the reef was enlightening. It makes me think about our approaches back on Volca." Plix chimed in, his reflective skin catching the light as he spoke. "The diversity is staggering. Nocton's oceans are stark by comparison. The vibrancy here, it's like a living kaleidoscope." Michael smiled at their insights. "Great observations, everyone. Now, let's shift our focus to the desert environment. It's drastically different from the reef, but equally demanding in its way." The group listened intently as Michael outlined the unique challenges of the desert ecosystem, emphasizing the adaptations of flora and fauna to extreme conditions. Desert species have evolved in some fascinating ways to conserve water and manage heat. It's a tough environment, but life finds a way to thrive even here, Michael explained, projecting images of cacti and desert animals onto the screen. So, life adapts to the conditions, no matter how harsh, Lyra mused aloud. Exactly, Michael confirmed. Adaptation is key. And speaking of adaptations, you'll all need to prepare for the heat and sun exposure. Make sure to hydrate and cover up. The discussion turned to logistics and preparations, with everyone contributing to the checklist of necessary supplies. As they planned, the camaraderie within the group grew. The shared experiences had started to forge a bond among them, with Michael at the center, guiding and facilitating. Later that day, they set out for the Sonoran Desert, the landscape shifting dramatically as they moved from the lushness of the city outskirts to the stark, open vistas of the desert. The vast expanses of sand and rock, dotted with cacti and rugged mountains in the distance, offered a new kind of beauty. Upon arrival, they set up an observation base near an oasis, a vital water source that attracted a variety of desert wildlife. As you set up your equipment, remember, everything here is about conservation, Michael advised as they unpacked. Energy, water, even your physical effort. Use everything sparingly. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the sand, the group gathered around Michael, who had arranged a series of small exploratory tasks for them. They would study nocturnal creatures, a particular interest of Plix's, using night vision technology. Tonight, we focus on how these animals navigate and survive the drop in temperature, Michael said, handing out the specialized gear. It's a different world here at night. The cool of the desert evening was a relief after the day's heat, and the students, energized by the new environment, set out in small teams to observe. Hours later, they regrouped, sharing their findings about nighttime desert life, from how certain insects harvested moisture to the hunting strategies of nocturnal predators. The desert teaches us about the extremes, Michael concluded as they packed up their gear. And understanding these extremes helps us appreciate the balance of ecosystems on Earth, and possibly on your planets as well. As they returned to their camp, the clear night sky, filled with stars, seemed to embrace them in its vastness. The students, reflecting on the day's lessons under the celestial display, felt a deepening sense of connection, not just to Earth, but to each other and to the broader universe. Chapter 5: Earth's Challenges. The alien students, now accustomed to Earth's diverse environments, faced their next lesson in the unpredictable nature of the planet. The group was visiting the volcanic regions of Japan when the ground beneath them suddenly trembled. An earthquake, a common yet frightening occurrence. Everyone, stay calm and follow me to the open area away from buildings. Michael shouted over the rumbling noise as he quickly led the group out of their research station. Lyra clung to her notebook, her eyes wide with fear. "Is this normal for Earth?" she asked, her voice trembling as much as the ground. "It's not uncommon, especially here," Michael replied, keeping his tone steady to calm the group. "We need to stay alert and follow safety protocols." Tarn, used to the stable grounds of Volca, looked around, visibly unsettled by the shaking. "How do humans live with such uncertainty?" "We plan and prepare as best we can," Michael explained as they reached a safer location. "Buildings here are designed to withstand earthquakes, and we have systems in place for early warnings and emergency responses." As the shaking subsided, the group took a moment to catch their breath. Michael checked everyone for injuries before they continued with their day, slightly shaken but unharmed. "Let's use this experience as a learning opportunity," Michael suggested once they had regrouped and calmed down. "Understanding Earth's geological activity is crucial, especially in regions like this one." Plix, always curious, chimed in. "Could we see the instruments that measure these movements? It might help us understand better." "Good idea," Michael replied. "Let's visit the local seismic station. They track all seismic activity, and it'll be useful for you to see how we monitor and analyze these events." The visit to the seismic station was enlightening for the students. The station manager, a seasoned geologist, explained the technology used to detect and measure earthquakes. He showed them real-time data feeds and historical records that illustrated the region's geological activity. "This is all part of living on such a dynamic planet," the manager explained. "Each measurement helps us predict and better prepare for future events." As the day progressed, Michael led the group on a hike around the volcanic area, pointing out lava flows and explaining the natural processes that shaped the landscape. The recent earthquake was a practical example of the forces they were discussing. "Seeing the power of Earth firsthand is quite humbling," Lyra noted, her earlier anxiety replaced by a sense of awe. "It's a constant reminder of how much there is to learn." "Yeah, and it shows how connected everything is," Tarn added, looking over the expanse of the cooled lava field. "What happens beneath the surface affects everything above it." "That's exactly right," Michael agreed. "It's all about connections and understanding those connections to live with and respect the forces of nature." As the sun began to set, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, the group made their way back to their lodging. The day's events had left them with a lot to think about, not just about Earth, but also about their own planets and how they could apply the lessons learned here. Back at their accommodations, the students gathered for a debriefing session, discussing the day's events and their implications. "Today was a real challenge, but also an incredible lesson," Plick said, his tone reflective. "The unpredictability of Earth is daunting, but it's also fascinating how well humans adapt and prepare. It makes you appreciate the planet's beauty even more," Lyra concluded, her eyes scanning her notes filled with observations and questions yet to explore. "Every challenge has a lesson, and today was no exception." As they retired for the night, the echoes of the day's tremors lingered in their minds, a powerful reminder of Earth's vibrant and ever-changing nature. Chapter 6. The Depths of Connection. After the day's seismic adventures, the group found themselves in a small coastal town, where the calm after the storm provided a tranquil backdrop for rest and reflection. As they gathered by the shore to watch the sunset, Michael noticed a particular closeness between him and Lyra, which had been deepening since their first meeting. "This is beautiful, isn't it?" Lyra asked, her gaze fixed on the horizon where the sun met the ocean. "It really is," Michael replied, his eyes not on the sunset, but on her. "It's moments like these that make all the challenges worthwhile." The conversation gently shifted from the beauty of the Earth to more personal topics, such as their backgrounds and life on their respective planets. Lyra shared stories of Cygnus, a place of vast intellectual achievements but limited natural diversity. "It's so different from Earth," she mused. "Here, there's so much life, so much variability. It's overwhelming, but in the most exhilarating way." Michael smiled, finding her fascination with his planet endearing. "And yet, you seem to fit right into it, like you were meant to explore and experience all this." As the sky darkened and the first stars appeared, their conversation deepened, drawing them closer. Sitting on the soft sand, Michael tentatively reached out to brush a strand of hair from Lyra's face. She didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned into his touch, closing the distance between them. The connection they felt was no longer just intellectual, but was quickly becoming emotional and physical. Their discussion ceased, replaced by a comfortable silence, filled only by the sound of the gentle waves and the soft rustling of the palm leaves in the light breeze. "May I?" Michael finally whispered, his hand poised at the side of her face, seeking permission not just for a kiss but for whatever might follow. Lyra nodded, her breath catching slightly. "Yes," she breathed out, her voice barely above a whisper. Their first kiss was tentative, a soft exploration that quickly deepened as they found a rhythm between them, their mutual curiosity fueling a passion that was gentle yet insistent. They explored the new terrain of each other's lips and touches, each moment intensifying the connection that had been simmering between them. Time seemed to stand still, the world narrowing down to the space where they sat together on the beach. The kiss ended, But the intimacy did not. They remained close, foreheads pressed together, sharing breaths and the warmth between them. "We should probably head back," Michael murmured, reluctant to break the spell but conscious of the need to return to reality. Lyra nodded, her eyes still closed as if to memorize the moment. "Yes, but this. I don't want this to just be a moment. I want to see where it leads." "Me too," Michael agreed, helping her to her feet. As they walked back to their lodging, their hands remained entwined, a silent promise to explore not just the physical but also the emotional landscape that had opened up between them. That night, as the group gathered for a casual dinner, Michael and Lyra's newfound closeness was apparent to all. Their smiles were brighter, their glances laden with unspoken words and shared secrets. The rest of the group, noticing the change, exchanged knowing looks and smiles. Tarn clapped Michael on the back, his grin wide. "It seems Earth isn't just teaching us about its landscapes, eh?" Michael laughed, his gaze finding Lyra across the table. "Yeah, it's teaching us about connections too. Sometimes, the most profound discoveries are the ones we make about ourselves and each other." The evening wound down with laughter and light conversations. The group bonded not just by their shared experiences, but by the acknowledgement of the personal journeys they were each navigating. For Michael and Lyra, the journey had just taken a significant and beautiful turn, guided by the stars of the Earth's night sky. Chapter 7. Understanding Earth. As the end of their time on Earth approached, Michael arranged for the students to present their findings and experiences to a larger audience at the university. The lecture hall buzzed with anticipation as faculty members, students, and a few invited experts gathered to hear about the unique perspectives of the alien visitors on Earth's ecosystems. "Today, you will share what you've discovered about why Earth is called a Deathworld, and perhaps dispel some myths along the way," Michael announced, opening the session. He gestured to Lyra to take the podium first. Standing confidently, Lyra began. "When we first arrived, the term Deathworld was intimidating. But we've learned it's not just about the dangers here. It's about the complexity and interdependence of life. For instance, in the Amazon, we saw how every species plays a role in sustaining the ecosystem." Next, Tarn stepped up, his tone serious but filled with respect. "On Vulca, we fight nature. Here we've seen how you work with it, even harness it. Observing your disaster response strategies, especially after experiencing an earthquake, showed us the importance of preparedness and adaptation." Plix, always the most inquisitive, shared his fascination with the night ecosystems. "Studying your desert's nocturnal life was enlightening. On Nocturne, we're used to darkness, but the diversity here at night is on another level. The adaptability of Earth's species is remarkable." As each student presented, a common theme emerged. Earth was a planet of immense diversity and adaptability, its designation as a death world not a warning of danger, but a testament to its vibrant persistence of life. After the presentations, the floor opened for questions. A human biology professor asked, "What can we, as Earth stewards, learn from your perspectives that might help us better protect our planet?" Michael, joining the panel, responded, "We've seen through our visitors' eyes the wonders we often take for granted. Their observations remind us of the value of our biodiversity and the need to approach conservation with vigor and a global perspective." The discussion turned to practical applications, with other faculty members and students asking about specific technologies and methods used on other planets that could be adapted for Earth. As the session concluded, the audience applauded, not just for the presentations, but for the broader understanding fostered by this interstellar exchange. Michael felt a deep sense of pride in his students' growth and their contributions to a larger dialogue about Earth and environmental care. Later, as they gathered for a private farewell dinner, the group reflected on their time together. "This experience has changed my perception of Earth profoundly," Lyra confessed, her hand finding Michael's under the table. "But more importantly, It's changed my perception of what it means to be part of a universe where so many worlds interact." Michael squeezed her hand, smiling. "And for us, it's a reminder that learning isn't just about observing or experimenting. It's about connecting, across cultures, species, and planets." Tarn, who often kept his emotions under wraps, added, "I came here thinking about survival strategies. I'm leaving with friendships and a realization that survival is not just about enduring, but thriving together." The evening ended with promises to stay in touch and continue sharing knowledge and experiences. Michael looked around at the group, now more like family than visitors, and felt optimistic about the future. "This isn't goodbye," he assured them. "It's just the start of a new chapter in our shared journey. Let's see where it leads us next." The group nodded, their faces a mix of sadness at the departure and excitement for the future. They had come to Earth to learn why it was called a Deathworld, and were leaving with a deeper understanding of Earth's challenges and beauties, but also with a newfound appreciation for their place in the cosmos. Chapter 8. Farewells and New Beginnings. The morning of departure arrived all too quickly for the group of alien students and their human guide. The sun rose over the university campus, casting a warm glow that seemed to undo the bittersweet emotions of the day. Michael and the students gathered their belongings and made their way to the spaceport, each step heavy with the weight of impending farewells. As they loaded their gear into the shuttle, Michael turned to the group, his expression a mix of pride and sadness. "I hope each of you takes a piece of Earth back with you, not just in your notes and samples, but in your hearts." Lyra, standing close to Michael, nodded. "I'm taking more than I ever expected. These weeks have been among the most enriching of my life. Thank you, Michael, for everything." Tarn, who had grown surprisingly sentimental about the planet, clapped Michael on the back. "You've been more than a guide. You've been a friend. Earth's toughness is matched only by its beauty, and that's something I'll never forget." Plix, ever the observer, added, "And I've gathered enough data to spend years analyzing. But the real lessons have been about Earth's people and your willingness to share and learn together. That's rare." The group shared hugs and handshakes with Michael, each farewell lingering a little longer than the last. As they boarded the shuttle, Michael handed each student a small, sealed envelope. "Open these when you're back home. Just a few Earth memories for you to look back on." The students smiled, tucking the envelopes safely into their bags. One by one, they ascended the shuttle's ramp, turning to wave one last time before disappearing into the craft. With the shuttle doors sealed, Michael stepped back, watching as it lifted off the ground, its engines a dull roar that slowly faded into the silence of the morning. As the shuttle ascended into the sky, blending with the clouds and then disappearing from sight, Michael felt a profound sense of accomplishment and a pang of loneliness. Returning to the now quiet campus, Michael walked slowly, reflecting on the past weeks. The campus seemed emptier, the silence more pronounced, but his mind was busy with plans and ideas inspired by his interactions with the students. Later that day, back in his office, Michael started drafting a proposal for a new interstellar exchange program, motivated by the success of this experience. His computer pinged with a message. It was from Lyra, already sent from her departing shuttle. It read, "We're all leaving a bit of our hearts behind with you. Let's ensure this is just the beginning." Smiling, Michael replied, "Agreed. Let's make sure it's just the start. Safe travels, and let's plan for the next chapter." He leaned back in his chair, thoughts drifting to the potential future exchanges. The university could be a hub for interstellar education and cooperation, a place where Earth and alien cultures could continue to learn from each other. Feeling energized, Michael began to outline the program, imagining scenarios, potential partners, and the logistics of making such a dream a reality. The tasks ahead seemed daunting, but the possibilities were exhilarating. As the sun set on the campus, casting long shadows across his office, Michael felt ready to tackle these new challenges. The departure of the alien students was not an end but a new beginning, an opportunity to bridge worlds and expand horizons. Earth had much to offer the universe, and the universe, in turn, had opened its arms to Earth. Through shared knowledge and friendship, the future was bright and filled with endless possibilities.